believe it is, yeah.
State your name and address and then.
I'm Heidi Venture. I live at 713 Katie's Lane in Hood River. I feel like I'm among friends, and yet this is a highly personal, big issue for me. I'm here to talk about psilocybin, the medicine I use. As a person who has dealt with treatment-resistant depression for almost all of my 65 years, I was curious when I started hearing about psilocybin treatment. I applied for research studies, but I never got accepted. I tried using psilocybin on my own with limited results. Then I found a therapist who would do psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy with me using psilocybin. Since then, I am no longer depressed. I am no longer depressed. When I have the slightest symptom, I can get a treatment. This treatment is illegal. I have to travel out of state and I need a driver to accompany me. This is what it's like. I sit down and take the mushrooms that I brought with me. We talk about my intentions and symptoms for 30 to 45 minutes. The mushrooms begin affecting me. I lie down. I see some lovely visuals. The therapist plays music and she asks me questions that focus the medicine on healing me. Sometimes I cry, sometimes loudly. Always I laugh, sometimes very loudly. After 3 to 5 hours, I call my driver to come get me. I'm tired, there's a long drive ahead, and I know I'm safe from depression for a long time. The Measure 109 psilocybin treatment you are considering restricting is intended for people with treatment-resistant depression, childhood trauma, veterans with PTSD, people with brain injuries, people who are dying and scared. I've been following the rulemaking at OHA very carefully, and the rules they are making are already so restrictive that very few people will be able to afford to access this medicine through the legal system. You can participate in the rulemaking in October if you want them to address something specific. I listened to your work session discussion today, and I'd like to help you know what to be worried about in time, place, and manner. Time doesn't matter. Place, already too restrictive in the rules being developed. Very few small business people will be able to participate. Big corporations from outside Oregon are poised to be the providers of services. Manner, first, some service centers might be noisy. I already told you, I'm kind of noisy. Are there already ordinances prohibiting disturbing the peace of your neighbors? Do you need more? Second, some service centers might have group sessions, which would mean people would be arriving and parking and driving in groups and leaving, driving in groups. That might bother the neighbors. Third, it looks very much like these services are going to cost between $1,000 and $5,000 for a psilocybin treatment. Will there be psilocybin resort experiences for the wealthy and resource people? Most definitely. These could be as small as one room in a therapist's office building or as big as a boutique hotel or resort. Will people with treatment-resistant depression, veterans with PTSD, people at end of life be able to access these services? Probably not. Please do not add to the already egregious restrictions on this medical treatment. Please. So many people could benefit from this medicine, but only if they can access it in a safe medical facility. If anything, make it easier for a psilocybin facility to open in Hood River County. I'm happy to help you think about what to worry about at any time. I've done a lot of research on what they're doing at the state level, and I can show you where to look for the information you need to make these decisions. Thank you very much.
Heidi?
Oh, you have questions?
I want to ask a question. So if you have an episode and you take the mushrooms and then you feel better, does it have a lasting effect against depression coming back?
Yeah. For a lot of people, it lasts for a year or more.
And it's all related to the mushroom?
It is, yeah. Yeah, there's good
Wow.
research on this. It's not just people saying it. It's research being done at Johns Hopkins and other prestigious research facilities.
Okay. options for implementing or not Measure 109. Comments? Eric, why don't you come up on this section?
Chair, it's because of the time requirement for referral. We need to know this evening whether or not the board wants to refer. That's really the most important thing from staff's perspective. If you're not going to refer, then you can talk about time, place, and manner. But the big question is, if you want to refer, we have to start working at it.
I have no desire to refer.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I mean,
That's my wife, Archie.
Not what I
Yeah.
would have, if I'd ever pass it at 63%.
yeah, I wouldn't have any second thoughts on that. I also have a friend who talked to me about who's also had tremendous personal effect on him, and 60+% on something, you just don't get that.
Okay. So, yeah, we're not going to refer it. The other options are,
TPM.
Pardon?
TPM,
Time,
time, place, matter.
yeah,
I have some comments on that, I guess. We do zoning. And I believe that this is something that does need to be thought through, and that how this is placed, and I'm most concerned about the treatment centers and potential effect in a residential zone. And I'm still struggling with this concept that they're specifically prohibited from residential zone within city limits, but outside of city limits, I don't see why that would be different. I would like to better understand that, and I'd like a process by which we could at least consider specific zoning for the treatment centers and determine where and when. So time, place, matter. So time and place are my concerns. I'm not sure I have any additional concerns about matter, but time and place, I'd like to know more about that, and I don't know of a way to do that other than to have a county legislative process.
So I'm a little confused on the zoning. The service center sounds more like a commercial activity. Is under current state land use law, is that allowed in rural residential?
So,
Is it a home occupation or?
well, certainly it could be a home occupation. The earlier question about, is production only limited to the industrial or agricultural zones? I don't know the answer to that. What was discussed was the exclusive farming zone aspect of it. And so it's certainly possible that you could do production as a farm use in a rural residential zone. As a farm use, you can do that already. And so I guess one of the issues is, could you have a production facility and then do a service center in conjunction with that production facility? That was the greatest concern as part of plan directors for kind of these resorts showing up kind of as an accessory use to a production facility, and then as a means to get these resort. So that's something that certainly could be addressed as part of time, place, and manner regulations, and that's what Wasco County did. Is they chose to limit those to just commercial zones, and that seems like a very appropriate place to have them.
so Eric, on these final administrative rules by OHA, can you use part of those if you're going to develop our own local rulings?
Yeah, as I understand it, we're compelled to most of those. We can add additional regulations on top of that. So does that answer your question as far as, at a minimum, we have to apply what OHA comes up with?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that folks like Heidi and many others in the county will have a lot that they can tell us about how these can operate and help inform us. But the more I think about it, the more I realize we have to have a legislative process in order to hear from them. I hate to put something else on Eric's plate, but this is an important one, I think.
Jeff, comment?
I would agree with Commissioner Babbitts to move this along. We have to initiate a legislative process. I guess, from the board's perspective, do you want to use the planning commission to do this? You have them, basically be the lead off and review after their review.
I think Jennifer's a perfect person to be working on this. I really do think that's a good idea, getting the planning commission to vet this for us. Just to be clear up front, I am very favorably disposed towards making these easy to do within the county, but I want to not have unintended consequences, and this is a process which will help us do it thoughtfully.
Yeah, I am as well. It's limiting conflict,
Yeah.
in different uses in different zones. That's
I mean, the chicken discussion earlier gives a good example of how these things can go awry.
well, and it's I think when you think about conditional use permits and different businesses that have developed out in the county, either EFU or in rural residential areas, it has an impact on quality of life for people. So it's trying to minimize those. That's my only concern.
Any questions?
I don't have any concerns. I think that I don't know enough, as been said, about these service centers. In my head, I visualize something similar to a counseling clinic. So I'm not sure why we have to create such rules around where they go and what's going on with them. But this resort idea is something I've not really heard about, but that's certainly something that, again, not knowing what I don't know, I think is where I'm sitting. So I think that having a legislative process and having our community members come and help us understand exactly what's going on and what would be the best route.
Great. We'll get on that and try to obviously get something adopted before it goes into effect, but that would be our goal.
Sorry, but
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.